Hi, everyone. It's Peter Crowd of Silverstock Investor with another episode of Pay Dirt Podcast, where we interview management of companies that we recommend, but also personally own, track, and report on. And today I'm really excited to be joined by Shawn Khunkhun, who is president and CEO of Dolly Varden. Shawn, thanks for taking some time to be with us to explain some very big news that you have at Dolly.
Thanks for having me on, Peter.
Always a pleasure to chat with you. Shawn, let's jump right into it. You've just had some outstanding drill results from Homestake Silver, especially hole 469. Fill us in on the details and tell us what some of the implications are.
Yeah, look, it's been a really good year for Dolly. Looking at the results we just put out on November 10th, what they represent a step out drill hole that is not currently in the mineral resource estimate. And it's a very big gold intercept. 26 grams of gold over 14 meters on a gram meter basis. We're talking about better than 350 gram meters. And what's exciting about this result is often a company puts out a splashy drill result and it's an anomaly, and it's a one-off. But if you go back to October 1st, we had another big drill result. We drilled over 3.3 grams of gold over 120 meters, which is another better than 350 gram meter intercept. But look, we are Dolly Varden silver. And on September 2nd, we intersected 1,400 grams of silver over 21 meters, which is a 29,000 gram meter silver interval. If you divide that by 80, the silver to gold ratio, it gives you roughly a 350 meter gold equivalent interval. So there's a um, consistent success track record here. We've been doing interviews and talking for 3 or 4 years now about Dolly. And when I first met you, Peter, I was nervous because I thought, what if this is just a one-off, and what if we can't reproduce these types of results? But I've gained a lot of confidence in the project over the years, and I'm really excited about our new mineral resource estimate that's coming in Q1, and I'm really excited about the 80 drill holes that are still pending.
So yeah, I mean that really truly is impressive, and I have to say it really speaks to the quality of the deposit. I mean, it just keeps getting better. The grades are fantastic. It's widely disseminated. It sounds like in the sense of you've got a combination of some really high grade intercepts, and now even over some very wide widths and some lower grade, still considered relatively high, but over very wide widths. So this is looking like quite the treasure trove. Um, Shawn, where is Wolf headed? You mentioned these silver grades, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it has, what the implications are with sort of quote unquote unlocking the code of this Golden Triangle for Hazleton Formation.
Yeah, it's a good question. And we had a visitor up at site this summer, and he said something to me that kind of had me change the way I looked at the area. So what we were so focused on a periodicity that's occurring on our ground. That's where our focus is. That's where we're having all this organic growth. But what he commented on, what he remarked on, was the fact that what's happening in the Golden Triangle on a broader basis is repeating on a micro basis on Dolly Varden. So, you've got Eskay Creek, you've got Bruce Jack, you've got Premier, and that periodicity that's playing out in the broader triangle, we have taken that discovery model. We've got a new slide in our presentation where we talk about the fingerprinting of success, looking for characteristics. We're looking for the science of why is there high grade here, and where other parts of the property can we reproduce this? And I think the team, the scientists, the geologists, the mining engineers, they've done a really good job of taking that 40,000 foot view of the triangle, understanding what's happening, the relationships between the Hazelton Formation and the Stahini, the red line, as they call it. The big deposits are found within that unconformity, and focusing on this 15-kilometer trend. And you mentioned Wolf. Why Wolf is special, Peter, is it's a primary silver deposit that's we're pulling out some really big intercepts. It's not reflected on the 43-101. So a lot of the silver growth that I anticipate seeing, like I am guiding a 50% increase in silver ounces on the property. I'm guiding a 50% increase in converting inferred to indicated on the gold side, and a 50% increase in the grade. I think the inferred resource grade, that's 4.5 grams per ton, is going up by 50% as we convert those ounces to indicated ounces, which should land over 7 grams per ton. So there's a lot of things that are happening on the property that we're celebrating, but there's a broader picture at play here. We've been very acquisitive. We've gone out and secured now 100,000 hectares of ground. It's all Jurassic Age, Hazelton Formation. And I've listened to some large supporters that we had. Phil Baker, who used to run Hecla. Hecla is a 13% shareholder. For many, many years, as Phil would invest into the company through Hecla, he would tell me things like, um, you're going to, as you learn more about the project, you're going to be able to apply that to other pieces of ground. So my answer and my solution was let's get as much ground as possible so that as we unlock the discovery code here, we can apply that to some of this newly acquired ground.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you guys are obviously working very hard to do that and making some fantastic progress and obviously a lot of drilling. So I think that makes for a pretty good segue to my next question, which is, and you alluded to this, all the drilling is going to lead to an updated resource. Am I correct about that in Q1 next year?
You're 100% correct about that. So, from a process standpoint, we should be in receipt of final assays just before or just after Christmas. So, we should be in a position by just before or just after Christmas of releasing all the results from the 2025 drill program. It was a 56,000-meter program where we drilled over 84 holes. We've got about 80 holes to report. Um, and then we will take that information and we will give it to the third party, and they will come up with their numbers. And after some QA/QC, we will be publishing a 43-101. I look, the guidance I'm giving is March. The last time a company published an estimate was, it's usually around March or April. So that's when investors can expect it.
Okay, so a lot of results to watch for over the next weeks and months. And can you speak to maybe some catalysts as we look over the next sort of quarter or two?
Yeah, so look, the company is fully funded. We've got $64 million in the treasury, which is a very healthy place when you've got 10% of your market cap in cash. And all the things that we want to do, the most robust drill program we'd see next year is $29 million. So technically we're funded for 2 years without having to print a share. It's a good place to be for an Explorco. But, one of the ways we've driven value is obviously, if we look at Monday, Monday was a day where silver prices were up over $1, gold prices were up over $100, and most of our peers were up 2 or 3%. We were up 8% because we put out that big drill hole. So as we continue to put out big drill holes, I think you're going to see the market represent that in our valuation. So positive drilling results, these 80 holes could lead to higher prices. We're also with the 150 million ounces that we already have in inventory, every time the silver price goes up, the value of those ounces increase and the value of our company increases. And the last thing I'll say, Peter, which is something that's out of our control, is we have had a history of being acquisitive. We made three significant acquisitions in the month of May. We made two significant acquisitions. One of them was transformational when we bought Homestake Ridge. And the challenge that I'm challenging myself and the team to accomplish is to bring in something that's big, that's producing. And why that's significant is it has the potential where we don't have to dilute again. If we've got a situation where we've got internal cash flow, we can use the proceeds of that to develop our project. And then if you factor in the underutilized mill that's up the street that Ascot's got, the premier 3,000 ton per day fully permitted mill, maybe there's a scenario here where we can direct ship some high grade ore to premier. And so that's a way when I first got into the business 22 years ago, there is companies that were exploring that still are not in production 22 years later. And I think for me, what I want to do, Peter, my goal is during this cycle, it's important for me to get this ore into a mill. And if we can look at a situation where we don't have to build a mill, we don't have to build tailings, not only are we saving money, but we're saving time, and our investors can reap the rewards of our project sooner.
So what you're saying is stay tuned. There are probably a lot of catalysts besides drill results and a new updated resource in Q1 that we can all look forward to.
Yeah, well, we've had that history of being acquisitive, and we
Yep.
want to continue to.
Excellent. Sean, if we can switch gears a little bit, more broadly, as you know, we're on to 5 straight years, likely this year, with a silver deficit. And then we have the US that has just added officially silver to the critical minerals list. This is really big news, and I'm curious of your thoughts on this.
Yeah, listen, I think, this is big. I got behind an initiative that First Majestic had spearheaded to try to make silver critical in Canada because there's all sorts of tax implications and investment incentives that would be beneficial to Dolly Varden. I think with the U.S. taking the lead, it's important, and they've got Section 232 that if they decide to invoke would potentially bring tariffs to silver. And we saw what as they socialized that around copper, what that did to the copper price in short time. So, I think we're in a moment right now where the big deficits that are occurring annually, the increased industrial use that's occurred over the last century, factored in with record high prices. So you've got technical breakouts, momentum breakouts at a time where the metal is being celebrated both as a critical mineral, but also as as we're into this environment where gold is $4,000 an ounce, silver is $50, I'm asking myself, why? Why has the price of silver doubled? And it's as much to do with industry as it does to do with the lack of confidence in governments and the big challenges we face as a globe today. And so I think, I think about the book you wrote, and I think about some of the presentations you've given over the years. We're in that moment right now where we're seeing real time. As I'm looking at the spot price right now, it's bid at $53. We're seeing real time right now. We're on the eve of an absolute breakout. And I was crunching some numbers this week. Um, you know, $400 to $800 silver based on historical moves in the past would not be out of the realm of possibility. And I know that sounds like a maybe fear-mongering or it's a bit hysterical, but the reality is I have the empirical evidence to back up those claims. And it's happening real time. And again, it wouldn't really change our world in that the Samsung Kilo battery or the photovoltaic cells, aren't going to make the products that need silver that much more expensive if we had $100 silver.
Agreed. And I mean, I'm on the same page as you. I fully agree with all of those thoughts. And as you say, these numbers that sound like they may be impossible are I think much more likely than many realize. And so yeah, I mean those are some fantastic insights.
Peter, I just want to say one thing further to that point. When I first got into the industry, if you would say $500 gold, you were laughed out of the room. And I just think that one thing that I've learned is being brave, being a contrarian, looking at the facts, being reasonable. It's a way to create a lot of wealth for yourself. So you've been such a bold leader in the space, and I thank you for the work you've done. And I think we're now starting to see it play out.
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Shawn, let's something we like to do to wrap up a little bit differently is ask if you have you can share some anecdote with us that relates to mining or not necessarily, but perhaps just sort of where we are today and some thoughts on how that connects with everything.
Okay, so I've got a goofy anecdote for you, and just
Perfect.
having a little fun right now.
Sure.
So I have a theory, and I haven't put as much time into this theory as I have, inflation adjusted silver prices.
Right.
Here's my theory. I think there's a relationship between successful Canadian sports franchises and runs, deep playoff runs, and robust precious metals markets. And the examples I'll give you, we had a wonderful speculative move in the mid 90s, and the Vancouver Canucks in the mid 90s made some very, very deep playoff runs. They got to a game seven. The Vancouver Canucks also got to a game seven in 2011, another historic time for mining equity valuations. And I just think most recently with our Toronto Blue Jays also going to a game seven at a time where we've got historic metal prices. So that's my fun anecdote. I think there's a relationship when the country is winning, and we are a country that, you know, mining and silver and gold are a rich part of our history and our fabric as much as ice hockey is. I think that's my little fun anecdote.
I like that. That's great. We'll certainly stay tuned and watch that closely and see how that hopefully continues to play out. Shawn, thank you so much. You've really offered us a great overview of developments, your thoughts, your outlook. I will certainly be watching for ongoing news, and let's look forward to catching up again soon.
Okay, look forward to seeing you soon, Peter.